This is Daniel Twinning admitting that the US government was behind the opposition coming to power in Malaysia, and the whole purpose was what? Was to stop China, of course. So let's just listen to Daniel admit it himself.
IRI, we had worked in Malaysia with opposition political parties since 2002. And guess whose funding we did it with? The National Endowment for Democracy. So for 15 years, working with NED resources, we worked to strengthen Malaysian opposition parties. And guess what happened 2 months ago? After 61 years, they won. I visited and I was sitting there with many of the leaders, the new leaders of this government, many of whom were just our partners we had been working with for 15 years. And one of the most senior of them, who's now one of the people running the government, said to me, gosh, IRI, you never gave up on us even when we were ready to give up on ourselves, right? And we're sitting in the Prime Minister's office. Here we are. Guess what the first step, really one of the first steps the new government took? It froze Chinese infrastructure investments. This is not a hugely pro-American country. It's probably never going to be an actual US ally. But this is going to redound to our benefit, right? And that's an example of the long game.
So that's Daniel, and he just completely comes out and admits it. The US carried out regime change in Malaysia. They were interfering in the internal political affairs and in the elections of Malaysia, just like they accused Russia of doing without evidence. This is them openly admitting they were doing it in Malaysia, and they do it all over the world and all over Southeast Asia, and for the exact same reason too. And I also want to point out these other organizations. You're going to see them if these protests start to get out of hand. You're going to hear these organizations in the news all the time. Lawyers for Liberty, Malaysia Kini, okay, and there was this street movement, Bersih, and they were all wearing yellow shirts in Malaysia. These are all US government funded fronts. The gall of Malaysia Kini, if you go to their website to have a subscription where you have to pay money to read their propaganda when they are fully funded by the US government, it's outrageous. These people have no shame. I guess if you're selling your country out to the United States, where would you draw the line? Keep all of this in mind. If the protests start getting out of hand, I will start to get into the situation in Malaysia extensively, but I just want to point this out, that this is just another copy and pasted US regime change operation in Southeast Asia. I have been warning people for months, if not over a year now, that the US is trying to instigate a Asia Arab Spring style uprising, and this is all about encircling China with failed, divided, destroyed states. So we already see Myanmar burning to the ground. We see the protesters here in Thailand trying their hardest to do so here. Now we have the beginnings of protests in Malaysia. And luckily,